FIFA World Cup 2026 is not just another World Cup. It is, by every single measure, the biggest World Cup in the entire history of football. And here is the wild part. Most people have no idea just how different it actually is. We're not talking about a slight upgrade. We are talking about a complete reinvention of the tournament. More countries, more games, more drama. 3 host nations simultaneously. And a brand new format that even hardcore football fans are still wrapping their heads around. So, if you have ever watched the World Cup, or plan to watch 2026, or you are just curious why everyone keeps saying this one is special, this video is going to make it all click. By the end of the next 9 minutes, you will understand exactly what makes 2026 different, why it matters, and why billions of people across the planet are already talking about it. Let's start with the most jaw-dropping change first. Every World Cup before 2026 had 32 teams. That is it. 32 countries got to show up, and that was already wild. 32 nations playing for one trophy, representing billions of fans. World Cup 2026 has 48 teams. That is not a small bump. That is a 50% increase overnight. Think about what that actually means. Imagine your favorite sporting event suddenly added 16 more teams out of nowhere. The whole thing would feel completely different. That is exactly what is happening here. Now, why 48? FIFA, the organization that runs world football, made this decision for a few reasons. First, football has genuinely grown into every corner of the globe. Countries from Africa, Asia, and North and Central America have never had a fair shot at qualifying. The old system kept too many great footballing nations out. Second, and let's be real here, more teams means more games, and more games means more money. FIFA earns billions from broadcasting rights and sponsorships. A bigger tournament means a bigger payday. But here is something most people miss. 48 teams does not just mean more countries. It means more stories, more upsets, more moments where a tiny nation knocks out a giant. The 2022 World Cup gave us Saudi Arabia beating Argentina, Morocco reaching the semi-finals. Those were the moments that broke the internet. With 16 extra teams, there will be even more of those. In past World Cups, 32 teams were split into 8 groups of 4. Simple. Each group played 3 games each. Top 2 from every group moved on. That system does not work for 48 teams. So FIFA invented something new. For 2026, 48 teams will be split into 12 groups of 4. Still 4 teams per group, still 3 games each. But here is the twist. Instead of the top 2 from each group moving on, the top 2 from every group advance, and the 8 best third-place finishers also qualify. This is called a 32-team knockout round, and it is the first time in World Cup history this has ever existed. Think about it from a player's perspective. In the old system, finishing third in your group meant you went home. In 2026, finishing third might still get you through. It keeps more games alive longer. It keeps more teams and more fans invested until almost the final whistle of the group stage. The total number of matches in 2026, 104 games. The old format had 64. That is 40 additional matches of international football. If you watched every single match from kickoff to the final, you would be watching for over 3 straight days without a break. Now here is something that has genuinely never happened before in this form. The 2026 World Cup will be hosted by 3 countries at the same time. The United States, Canada, and Mexico. The closest thing that ever existed was Euro 2020, the European Championship, which was spread across 11 cities in 11 different countries. But that was an experiment during COVID that nobody really planned for. This is intentional. This is a statement, and the scale of it is hard to comprehend. 16 host cities total, 11 in the United States, including New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami, and Seattle. 3 in Canada, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. 3 in Mexico, Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey. The distance between the northernmost venue and the southernmost venue is roughly 5,000 kilometers. Players and fans will be crossing international borders between matches. Just to put that in perspective, the distance from London to Moscow is about 2,500 kilometers. The 2026 World Cup is spread across twice that. This brings us to the most interesting question of all. Why is the United States hosting the World Cup? Because here is the thing. America is not traditionally a football country. In the US, football means American football. The NFL, touchdowns and helmets and Super Bowls. But the rest of the world calls what we are talking about football. And the US has been slowly, quietly becoming obsessed with it. Major League Soccer, which is the professional football league in America, has exploded in growth. When Lionel Messi, widely considered the greatest player alive, moved to Inter Miami in 2023, entire cities sold out tickets overnight. Local news channels that had never covered football in their history were suddenly broadcasting his training sessions. So 2026 is not just a repeat performance. It is a bet that 30 years later, America is finally ready to fall completely in love with the sport. And hosting it jointly with Mexico and Canada adds something else. Both those countries have deep, passionate football cultures. Mexican football fans are among the loudest, most intense supporters on the planet. Canadian football has quietly become a serious force, with the national team qualifying for 2022 after a 36-year absence. This tournament essentially hands America a football education delivered by its 2 closest neighbors. Here is the final piece of the puzzle, and this one changes everything. The 2026 World Cup final will be played at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, just outside New York City. MetLife Stadium holds over 82,000 people. It is one of the largest stadiums in the entire United States. And on the day of the final, roughly 1.5 billion people around the world are expected to watch it on television. Not million, billion, with a B. To put that in context, the Super Bowl, the single biggest sporting event in America, typically draws around 100 to 120 million viewers. The World Cup final draws more than 10 times that, and this one will be played on American soil. The 2026 World Cup is not just another tournament. It is the biggest sports event this planet has ever organized. More teams, a revolutionary format, 3 host nations, and potentially the greatest upset story in sporting history, all happening in North America. Whether you have watched football your whole life or you are discovering it for the first time, 2026 is the moment everything changes. So to recap, 48 teams instead of 32, a brand new group stage format, 104 total matches hosted across the US, Canada, and Mexico simultaneously, and a final that could draw 1.5 billion viewers to New Jersey. Every World Cup feels like the biggest one ever. This time, it actually is. If you want to understand football well enough to actually enjoy every match, positions, rules, tactics, everything, that video is up next. It is worth watching before the tournament starts. Subscribe if you want to keep up. There's a lot more coming.